Everything we learn about the Secret Service's handling of this assassination makes it seem worse and worse. This was absolutely disastrous testimony from Kimberly Cheatle. Congressman Andy Biggs asked a really basic question about the assassination attempt. He said, okay, so you don't seem to have a lot of answers for us. Let's just establish some basic facts. Can you confirm that, at the very least, this was a lone gunman? Here's her answer.
It is unfathomable that a 20-year-old on the radar of Secret Service and local law enforcement before President Trump went on stage was able to climb onto the roof of a building with a rifle and fire off multiple rounds before he was neutralized. Was Mr. Crooks acting alone?
Again, I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation.
Was he just a lone gunman?
I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation for motive.
He didn't ask about motive, lady. What? This is a layup. I understand there are some questions that she is not going to want to answer during this testimony because it was the biggest Secret Service screw up since Reagan was shot in the 80s. And maybe even crazier than that. But he asked you a basic question. Okay, well, during this major screw up, there was a lone gunman, right? He goes, sorry, I can't answer that. I can't answer questions about motive. He didn't ask a question about motive. He asked how many shooters there were. You can't give me that answer? You're the head of the Secret Service. You can't tell me how many shooters there were who did succeed at murdering one citizen attending a political rally, critically injured two, and nearly blew the head off the former president, I hope future president, current leading presidential candidate? What? Then Nancy Mace, another Republican congressman, turned the grilling up even higher.
Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
Was this a colossal failure?
It was a failure.
Yes or no? Was it a colossal failure is the question, yes or no?
I have admitted this is a terrible...
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure, yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable, yes or no?
Yes.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
Yes.
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today as being transparent, yes or no?
I have always been
yes or no. You didn't want to answer the question.
Committee.
We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political, yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bull.
Okay, Nancy Mace goes on. Her language gets a little bit saltier even as the grilling continues. I don't think she needed to get salty. I thought this was a great grilling by Nancy Mace. She did a terrific job. She didn't have to go blue in her language because the Secret Service director admitted failure. She got her on the question, was this a colossal failure? Well, it was a failure. Was it a colossal failure? Well, I said it was not great, Was it a colossal failure? Yes, it was. She gets her on that. But then, crucially, she gets her on the leaked testimony. She says, is the U.S. Secret Service political? I'm not talking about agents on the ground actively protecting the president and other high-profile politicians. No one is suggesting that those guys are, colluding with some political party. We're talking about the political appointees. We're talking about people like Kimberly Cheatle, appointed by Joe Biden. Is the U.S. Secret Service, from the perspective of the bureaucracy, the administrative state, is it partisan and party political? She says no. And then Nancy Mace says, well, how'd your speech get leaked to left-wing news outlets? She says, I don't know how that happened. Well, that is an admission of failure. First of all, Nancy Mace doesn't believe her. She thinks that Cheatle leaked it herself. But even if Cheatle didn't leak it, Cheatle is saying, not only do I not have control over my job, which is to protect the presidents, not only do I not have control over the security perimeters around these events, I don't have control over my secretary. I don't have control over my immediate subordinates. I don't have control even to protect my remarks from going out to the establishment press. So she doesn't have control over anything. That admission, either she's admitting that the Secret Service has become politicized, as have so many formerly nonpartisan aspects of our government under Joe Biden and under Barack Obama before him. But she's either admitting that, or she's admitting that she can't perform even the most basic aspects of leadership. She can't even keep her own remarks from leaking out. The more we learn, the worse this seems. Jesse Waters just sat down with President Trump and J.D. Vance. He asked President Trump, he said, hey, there was this security risk that was called in about 15 minutes before your speech, or more, actually. I mean, but according to some reports, the threat was seen an hour before, maybe even more than an hour before. So did anyone tell you? Did they tell you to postpone the event? Here's Trump's answer.
They were monitoring this guy for an hour beforehand.
Yeah.
No one told you not to take the stage?
No, nobody mentioned it. Nobody said there was a problem. And I would have waited for 15. They could have said, let's wait for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, something. Nobody said, I think that was a mistake. How did somebody get on that roof? And why wasn't he reported? Because people saw that he was on the roof. I mean, you had Trumpers screaming. The woman in the red shirt, she was screaming, there's a man on the roof. And then other people said, there's a man on the roof who's got a gun. And that was quite a bit before I walked onto the stage. So you would have thought somebody would have done something about it.
You sure would have. If you're tracking this guy before the event even starts, you don't tell the president, hey, hold off for a few minutes. I've had to postpone my events. He's the president of the United States, former president and future president. I'm some guy. I've had to hold my events when there were threats outside. And threats that are less severe than a guy walking around potentially with a rifle using a rangefinder. Apparently the shooter had a drone over the site, though it's unclear if that was known to law enforcement beforehand. The guy looked like a threat. You know, how about you hold that's what they have holding rooms for. That's the purpose of a green room. No one told Trump. So now everyone's going to yell at the Secret Service director, and they're going to probably chase her out of her job, and then that'll be that, right? That's that? Mm-mm. Do not let this stop there. Do not allow this to be memory hold. Already, this story is being memory hold. The former president, current leading presidential candidate, was very nearly murdered. The only reason he is alive is by the grace of God because of a nanosecond early, unpredicted head turn that prevented the back of his head from being blown out and only blew off the top part of his ear. That was what, 9 days ago now? Don't let this get memory hold. They fire this woman. Everyone's going to say, move along, move along. I want answers from Alejandro Mayorkas. I want answers from Joe Biden, if Joe Biden is still alive or is still able to speak. That was a good clip, huh? We would all agree. Now, maybe ring the bell, subscribe like 2 million other people. We'll see you next time.